Well, every year, thousands of Canadians give away millions of dollars in what has been declared the highest form of fraud in the country. It's called romance scams. This weekend's episode of CTV's W5 dives into who is behind these online crimes and how they're doing it.
Here to explain how this scam could affect you and your loved ones is investigative correspondent Avery Haines.
Welcome. So happy to have you here.
Avery, let's just start with the basics. What is a romance scam?
So I think everyone's heard of catfishing, right?
Yes.
Where someone takes someone else's profile, pretending to be them. Usually it's an American soldier or an oil rig worker, and then reaches out and starts showering them with love and affection. So they're getting all of these text messages that are going back and forth, back and forth. And then a crisis hits, and the soldier who's in Afghanistan can't access his account, and could you please just lend me $500? And I promise you I'll pay you back. And then the scam begins.
My goodness.
Wow. So how are these people, like, it seems so, like, to me, you hear this as an outsider, you're like, I would never do this. I would see through this, but clearly it's working. So how are these people able to convince people to send lots and lots of money to people they've never actually met in person?
You will be shocked at how many people are victimized in this country. 15,000 to 20,000 Canadians are ripped off every single year. And only fewer than 1,000 report it because they're ashamed and they feel like they're stupid for being duped. But of those fewer than 1,000, the cost is $22 million last year in this country.
Wow.
And so you ask how they find you. I actually was catfished during this investigation by a soldier from Afghanistan. He was in the forest in Afghanistan, and I catfished him back for 6 months. He offered to sell me his story when I finally told him, I'm an investigative reporter, I want to come and meet you. He offered to sell me his story for the same amount that he was trying to rip me off on.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
But the way he reached out to me is the way these guys reach out, and clearly I fit a profile. An older woman, but a woman who is older, they will send, the way that this organization works, and this is, like, make no mistake about it, this is not a guy in Nigeria at an internet cafe taking on a vulnerable woman. This is a network that will blow your minds when you find out about this ruthless organization that is carrying this out.
Well, tell us more about that. Who are these people perpetrating this?
So you've probably never heard of them. They're called the Black Axe. And they have perfected the art of romance fraud. And it began as a fraternity in Nigeria back in the 70s, and it has morphed now into a criminal organization that has been declared in Italy a mafia. They operate in 26 countries around the world, and they are in our neighborhood. It is in Canada as well, and 2 cops from Toronto actually exposed the fact that Black Axe exists in Canada back in 2014. They uncovered a treasure trove of information about their inner workings. But the way that they make contact initially is through direct messaging on Instagram, on Facebook, and on dating websites. And the lower echelon of this organization is not particularly sophisticated. They blast all these women who they think could be vulnerable, perhaps recently widowed, or maybe they look like they're not so great on the internet. And when you respond, they'll continue a conversation with you. The minute you send money, your file is moved to a higher sophisticated level of this organization.
Oh my gosh. Your investigation for this episode all started with the story of a Canadian woman that had a tragic ending. Can you tell us about it?
So Colleen was 59 years old. She had recently lost a lot of weight, and she had ended a long-term relationship. She went on a dating website and was approached by a man named Ryan Scott. And over the course of 2 years, what began as a romance fraud had her so fearful for her life that she died by suicide because she thought the police were about to arrest her because they said she broke the law when she gave that first amount of money. She gave $1 million.
$1 million.
And she's a bookkeeper in Delta, British Columbia, who sold...
Why did she think the police were after her, though?
Because the way these romance scams operate is initially it's about love. She went to her death believing that Ryan Scott existed. But the other people who were part of this scam were trying to take on her and Ryan.
Like actors almost? Like
they had all kinds of different actors. They had diplomatic services, they had immigration people, and they told her because she had paid some money to pay a bribe, as part of this scam, that she was now going to be arrested, and she did believe that she was going to jail.
Oh my God. Wow.
So what can people do if they're being targeted, Avery?
I think the most important thing to know is that the RCMP will not help you get your money back, nor will they investigate any kind of fraud when it comes to something like this, individual cases. If somebody approaches you on Instagram, social media, dating websites, and they cannot video chat with you, the reason these scammers use soldiers and oil rig workers is because they're in secret locations and can't video chat. This is part of their scam. That's why they use them. If you are asked for money, it is a scam. There's an incredible organization, and if you've got nothing to do this weekend, I'd go on it just because it's super interesting. It's called Scam Haters United, and it's a website. Go on there and you will see thousands of photos of usually U.S. soldiers. These are all people who have been identified as people's profiles who've been stolen.
This has been the greatest tease in history for your special tomorrow.
Yes.
Avery, thank you so much
pleasure.
for joining us.